When that familia is your favorite Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly, and I'm back with another message. Back at the laundry. I stay in the laundromat with these messages. But anyway, I was there to bring in some bibliomancy from Ramona the Brave, right? Beverly Clearly books. I'm taking it back. It says celebrating 60 years. I'm showing my age. But yeah, that's what I felt led. It says here, there is nothing Ramona can't face. All right. So let's see. Let's jump right back in. Right back in. So maybe somebody's jumping right back into something. You know, I don't think that Freudian slip is a coincidence. Miss Quimby smoothed Ramona's blankets. Susan is the one I feel sorry for. You are the lucky one. You can't you can think up your own ideas because you have imagination. Ramona was silent while she thought this over. But that doesn't help now, she said at last. Someday it will, Mrs. Quimby rose from the bed, and Ramona, Mrs. Griggs, expects you to apologize to Susan for destroying her owl. Mama, cried Ramona, do I have to? Yes, Ramona, you do. Mrs. Quimby leaned over and kissed Ramona goodnight. But, Mama, it isn't fair. Susan is a copycat and a tattletale. Mrs. Quimby sighed again. Maybe so, but that does not give you the right to destroy her property. And I'm told to stop there. So we have a scene where Ramona is speaking with her mother, and she literally says to her, Susan is the one I feel sorry for. You are the lucky one. You can think up your own ideas because you have imagination. For some reason, that's standing out to me. And I think this whole about apologizing um, is going to be somehow important in the message as well, right? About, because she says to her, even if someone isn't fair to you, even if someone doesn't do something correctly, that doesn't give you the right to destroy their property. So there's something about owning up, um, right? Still being held accountable for your own actions, being responsible. Um, Something about you being the one with that is able to come up with your own ideas and have imagination. Remember, one of the gripes that Ramona indicated to her mother was that Susan was a copycat and a tattletale. So don't be surprised. Maybe this is something you're already experiencing. You have experienced in recent times people trying to copycat off of your ideas, trying to, and gossiping and even spreading your ideas, right? So there's something about um, being very careful about your dreams, your ideas, about who you tell them to. For some reason, I looked at my clock and 9:55 seems to be relevant. Look it up as a possible number in numerology or even angel number. Um, but, you know, to pre-shuffled the cards already. Uh, to be mindful about what you say and who you say it to, right? And I was led to pick from the Guides of Hidden Realms for the Oracle cards by Colette Baron Reed. So let's see if, well, not if, I know the theme is going to align when Spirit wants a book. It always aligns with the Oracle cards. And the first one is Serenity Out of Exile. That card is beautiful. Look at that. That indigo I'm hearing. Look at that beautiful deep indigo. Serenity Out of Exile. And it says, exhale, surrender, radical acceptance. And it's a one. And it's a full moon card as well. So I'm thinking new beginnings, right? And this new beginning that you're entering, right? Um, you're going to be held, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable, right? For your actions. Be careful of what you do, even if you think you have every right to, you know, respond in kind to maybe other people's behavior. In this new beginning, you will have to come. I wanted to say again, so be confronted with people who are tattletales and copycats, right? I just heard next level, new devil, right? And not to make it so dramatic about devils, right? It's just reality. We're human beings, and as human beings, you know, we trigger one another. We are at different places in our lives in terms of our journeys. You know, typically we are mirrors to one another, and when unfortunately sometimes some of us are on our course and doing certain things that will trigger someone who is not, and we don't always act in kind as a result. But it's interesting, serenity out of exile. So maybe this is what you are just have gone through, right? People being copycats and tattletales, and you retaliated in ways that maybe you're not, or responded in kind in ways that you're not too proud of, right? But now you are stepping into this surrender, right? This radical acceptance of yourself. And maybe they're not talked about triggers, right? It's not only that they are triggered, that you're triggered as well, right? And typically we're triggered when we are confronted with some of our shadow aspects. For some reason, I'm looking at the cover of the book and the moon just looks real shadowy and dark, right? But beautiful nevertheless. That beautiful purple and indigo in there as well. Again, is something about back to the radical acceptance, right? When I radically, my throat wanted to lock up, when I radically accept myself in all aspects of myself, even those shadow selves of mine that have to admit that I have to maybe go back and apologize that, my behavior wasn't maybe too kind or acceptable, right? Or appropriate. That surrender is best, right? And now I'm hearing Waiting to Exhale, the movie, right? When you finally exhale, when you finally, and confirmation, but when you finally exhale, when you finally release, when you finally let go, right? There's a beauty in that. And again, it's a one. So definitely about new beginnings, right? And I'm hearing the new beginnings always start in the mind, right? There's something about this third eye being this pyramid. So now I'm hearing alchemy, right? So when you reframe your mind, confirmation, when the thoughts become reframed, there's a sense of alchemy that occurs, right? That is alchemy in as well. We always think of alchemy like a person with beacons or literally changing the philosopher's stone to lead. But there's a form of alchemy that occurs within the brain, I'm hearing, that then allows for new synapses to form, and then hopefully the outcome is new behavior, right? Or refined behavior in some cases. And I love the way the eyebrow is also, if you can see that. Let's see if I can get the camera. But there's like stars, and then the pyramid upside down with the star in the middle. And then even the symbolism around it. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And it's in darkness, right? The card feels very like if I flipped the light on the inside of myself, right? Like this is what I would see, or you would see of yourself, right? Next card to fly out is The River Dances to the Sea. And it says flow state, trusting in the adventure. So interesting. So now we're seeing you're leaving, right? You found this serenity in this exile as you're coming out of this exile. And now because of this deep introspection, as you come back out into the light, so this is like this deep blue waters, right, of emotions, of depths, of subconscious, to this green, earthy, lush realm, right? So from the deep subconscious to the external, right? From within to without, right? Being practically expressed on the earth plane. But there's this sense of flow, and there's certain sense that now you can trust the adventure, right? Now you're able to trust in the adventure because of this introspection that happened in what may have felt at the time as exile, right? And this one wanted to call out too, so I'm gonna honor it. And look at what it says: the alchemy of poison. It's like, what, right? The alchemy of poison. And it says transformational lessons, reclaiming personal choice, radical forgiveness. So both times now we have radical acceptance and radical forgiveness. And I think it's first and foremost radical acceptance of self and radical forgiveness of self, that then can and now, goodness, the deep subconscious within, right? The deep shadow within, to the earthly plane, to the practicality and how I flow now on the 3D level, to the cosmic, right? The universal level. It's like all three, now they look like three different states, right? And you've experienced and have operated and are operating in all three, right? But and it was a journey, a process, and I'm hearing, and it's going to repeat again, right? This is a lifelong process as long as you have breath, right? And I just saw the frog. I didn't just see. Now, that's interesting because as a woman who identifies as a Black Puerto Rican, in Puerto Rico, there is the water goddess Atayeb, I believe, and I am going to look it up because I will pay honor, homage, and respect. Um, we have the coqui is our little frog. And Atabe, that's her name, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but she's a woman and a frog, right? Well, she has frog legs, a woman's body, and then her head is a crown. This is one of like the most indigenous, original forms of her. So when I just saw this frog, I was reminded of her. So maybe there's, for some of us, and you don't have to be Puerto Rican, you know what I'm saying, the ethnicity of Puerto Rican, but there's something about this spirit that maybe is present in this reading that may be calling to some of you to work with her. It says here the spirit was one of the most important for the native tribes that inhabited the Caribbean islands of the Antilles, mostly in Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and Cuba. So maybe that's for something, for somebody out there. But I'm feeling like that her presence is here in this reading, and she wants to be a part of it. And then look, the river dances to the sea. Again, she is a water goddess. So I don't think it's a coincidence, right? I find it all to be so. And yeah, now this looks like a mermaid, right? I don't know. Now I'm hearing. I'm thinking of Avatar. Is it Avatar? Yeah, the movie, right? And the yeah, that's what I'm thinking of now. Avatar. But now as Black Panther, when she encountered the sea people as well. So there's this merging, this mixing, right? Again, of these three states, right? If we're talking about the deep underground, right? The middle. So now I'm hearing Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, and yeah, there's these three, it's tri-state now I'm hearing, trilingual, triplane, there's something, you know, my channel, I call myself the Puerto Rican Brooklyn Philly because of my birth in Puerto Rico, my upbringing in Brooklyn, and then my refinement, I was saying, in Philadelphia as an adult. I find myself to call myself trilingual. You know, there's something about, now I'm hearing the Holy Trinity, right? There's something about a merging of all three and an acceptance of all three. Oh, and at the bottom of the deck, they wanted me to show that the consequence of fear, right? And I'm believing that it is that consequence of fear that led one into the exile. But that exile that supposedly feels like it's going to break you is what actually gives you the serenity. Ew. Right? And now I'm hearing contraction, the frequency of fear, self-fulfilling prophecy. So now they're calling, when I'm being called to is that it's being categorized or expressed as fear as a frequency, right? As a frequency that we hold. And if it's a frequency, then, you know, I'm here, we can tune in and tune out, right? We can change the station. We can refine, you know, sometimes with the fear, the station might get a little, you know, what's that word you get I forget. I don't know. But the station ain't coming in clear. And you get all that, right? but there's a way to refine it. And now that card, interestingly enough, they do want me to read out of the book. And there's something about the numbers. So we went from a 1 to a 3, right? So a new beginning, the 3, collaboration and Trinity. I'm hearing Empress energy as well. The goddess that wanted to thank you so much. And with all honor, we give you honor and respect. We thank you for showing up in this reading with us. The number 22, which is 2, which is about unions, but double union, and then the number 20. For some reason, they want us to pay attention to that. Again, they're reminding me about the number 955 and its relevance. They're going to make me look it up. They're saying some of you are not going to look it up. They know you. Some ancestors are calling somebody out. So the consequence of fear, it says key concepts, contraction, right? To contract, right? I'm seeing something opening and closing, right? The contraction of something. When I just got chills. Decisions made from stress, patrolling for potential threats, aligning with the frequency of fear, self-fulfilling prophecies, radical allowing. And when I'm thinking of self-fulfilling prophecy is, right, if you think of a fear long enough, think about it. There are times when you said you were so fearful of something happening that it feels like you almost called it in, right, that it actually happens. Right, so there's something about being very careful about your thoughts, right? I did talk about forming new synapses, right? About core beliefs being changed or refined. And it says fear is a natural emotion, reaction meant to keep us safe from danger. Alhamdulillah, that is true. We forget that. Sometimes we see it as such a negative that we forget that is a primal instinct within us that was, it is an indicator, like kind of like in a car and a machine to let us know, warning, warning, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing for us. It's when we become in a frozen state of perpetual fear, right? When our nervous system is always in fright, flight, or some kind of mode that is imbalanced. But anyway. It becomes unhealthy when it's inappropriately prolonged. Look at that. When our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs are fear-based, and we keep rehearsing those fears, then our expectations, choices, and behaviors align with this energy. We begin to notice more and more reasons to be anxious and stressed, and we unwittingly send out a frequency that keeps us forever on patrol against outside threats. Yeah, it keeps us self-defensive, right? In self-defense mode. And when you're constantly in self-defense mode, even I'm hearing when people are coming to you with possibly good intentions or with kindness, because you're always in self-defense mode. Interesting. 1010 just popped up on my, and it says, as within, so without, and so it is. This is an alarm that I set for myself as like a daily affirmation, and that just rung when I just said that. So they want to, emphasize. It says, lately you might be more defensive, engaging in people-pleasing, or isolating yourself to avoid hurt. So I'm hearing both sides of that spectrum, right? And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to a hadith, it says that the middle path is the best path. And it's interesting that I'm holding my thumb and my index finger like this and pointing up. I'm thinking of Kemet, right? Egypt, the land, the black land, the beautiful black land, a black, beautiful soil. And now I'm seeing this card again, right? I'm hearing blackness, beautiful blackness. In the midst of sorrow, no matter how bad reality seems, you can alter your dream. To never say never, as long as you keep your head to the sky. Interesting. So all of that was just channeled, but this is the Kemetic, the hieroglyphics that we find on the temples. There's this beautiful sister that I recently met attending her yoga classes, her chair yoga in particular, but she's a yoga instructor. Her real passion is Kemetic yoga. And just yesterday in one of her lives, she pointed that out, about the holding of the thumb. Her name is Dr. Jerica. Give her all props. Beautiful black woman. And we say, we're sisters from a past life. But anyway, she was speaking of holding this position, right? There's certain positions that we will see on the walls, and she incorporates that. That's a part of the Kemetic yoga. that was for somebody. So maybe that would interest you. It would be of interest to you. It would be possibly beneficial for you. You may want to look that up. But now they're specifically bringing me back to Egypt, which is, that's what we call it now, but its original name, well, we don't know if it's the original, but as back as we can go, I'm here in Mesopotamia and all that, it is Kemet. And now I'm being brought back to the triangle, the pyramid. So there's some link, or there's some significance of that. So it says, no matter what you're doing as a stress response, it's time to step back and let it be. You can't change the outside world, but you can make an internal shift. Didn't we talk about the subconscious? First, ask yourself, is this decision based in fear and a need for control? Am I afraid of rejection or reprisal? Where do I need to say no? These are 3 questions that they're saying for you to consider. Then consider the act of radical allowing. So now we're going back. So this one is talking about radical allowing. This one is talking about radical acceptance. And this one is talking about radical forgiveness. Nevertheless, they're saying be radical about it, baby. Okay. I don't know why I just got an image of Austin Powers. Yeah, baby. Where that came from. Then consider the act of radical allowing, letting everything, both people and circumstances, be exactly as they are without question. In doing so, you also make room for your authentic self. Soon the fear will show itself for what it is, a temporary illusion. I just heard a figment of your imagination. The power is in your attention, right? And I'm going to leave it there. So that was beautiful. That is very... I'm hearing apropos, and I was led to pull from the Muse Tarot, and we're just gonna pull a couple of cards. My nose is itching. That for me is a significator. It is a sign that the ancestors are definitely present. And the first card, the world, the cosmos. The world, the cosmos. Right? And when we get the world, the cosmos, we're talking about card 21. Didn't we just say new levels, new devils, right? Didn't I say a new beginning? Isn't that the first card to come out, the 1, right? And it fell right under that, right? So there's definitely, and look, you can't fully see her face. You can see her mouth, but her eyes and her brain, right? Her top of her head oh my God, I just saw the Ankh. I'm seeing the Ankh. So I don't know if you can see it, but this is the body. These are the arms outstretched in forms of wings. And then that's the circular motion up top, right? Yesterday I had this rabbit hole experience because of Dr. Jerica and her Kemetic yoga positions and what we were talking about. This is another positioning. Was the left hand, the right hand over the left hand, and then the thumbs pressing against. And this is one of the poses. She talked about the wajet, the snake that comes out from the third eye. And then again, here he goes here with the pyramid. And then now me seeing that circular motion around as the top of the Ankh, right? There's some connection there. I don't know. I just lost it. I gained it, but then I lost it. Maybe I'm hearing it's more to be left for your interpretation rather than me imposing an interpretation for you. But it's definitely something that may be a benefit for you or that you may be interested in, right? But now I'm seeing if then you're this Ankh, right, and you're in this position, and this is, I'm seeing you, I'm seeing us, I'm seeing we, I'm hearing as a tuning fork, right? Again, and then if I'm a tuning fork, then I'm what? I'm picking up the vibration and also sending out vibration. Hence back to what they were talking about. What's your frequency? What frequency are you operating on? Is it on a frequency of fear, right? And if so, check it, right? 3 emotions, right? The 3 of Cups. Again, this Trinity, didn't I talk about that? And whoa, I'm not, yo, the 3 fell over the 3. For the, because I line them up like that in threes, and 3 over the 3. Right? Depths of emotions, the Trinity. Didn't I talk about that? Like tri-state, trilingual, right? The 3 states I'm hearing now of consciousness. So it's like the subconscious, the conscious, and then the higher consciousness. I just heard, what level are you operating on, right? And then again, look, if we think of the Ankh, the orb around the head, there's something, right, with that. And even when I pulled up the goddess Ayeb, where's she at? I'm saying her name incorrectly. Atabe. Look at the crown around her. Right? And when you bring up the Wajet from Egypt, she also has, right? She's a snake form with her body of a woman. I'm just seeing if I have her here still. This is one of her forms. But in this one, she has a lion face within the orb and the wajet coming out of the center. See, that's the snake. But there's another form where she's the face of the snake, the cobra itself. But yeah, but it's significant. This orb around, right? The Ankh in and of itself. Yeah, there's a lot of reference to Egypt. A lot of reference to that. But there's this new world, this new level that you're entering into that is requiring, right, this collaboration, right? This acknowledgement that maybe, right, that you are more than just this one being, right? Because this is the same woman in 3 different state forms. Now I'm hearing Mother, Maiden, Crone, right? Again, yesterday's reading, there was it was poignant for them to show, to point out that we tend to fragment things, we tend to compartmentalize things, we tend to separate things, right? They made a big deal about saying, how is it that they're telling you you have to separate like religion or politics? How do you really do that? You can BS and say, oh, I'm making this decision without those things, but you can't. You're really always operating from the decisions, or making decisions from the experiences and what you believe. So it's really like, I'm hearing fugazi. You can lie to yourself if you want to, or we learn how to cover up and act like we're being biased about stuff. And I get it, to a certain extent we can try to be, but at the end of the day, right, we really are operating from whatever frequency we're tuning into or attuning to, right? Anything else? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's something else I want to say about it. Was it this card that you wanted, Spirit? I'm going to take it. Muse of Inspiration. Can you see that? Oh my God, this is so beautiful. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of my experience with Wajet. And so I had a vision on November the 13th of this past year. So back up a little more, they're saying. So in the previous years, I would see this eye, this one eye, just an eye that would open up, look at me, and then everything around it was pitch black. Initially, I was a little scared of it. As time progressed and it would show itself to me again, I wasn't as scared anymore, and then I began to kind of like confront it. But then in most recent, it was like, wait, it isn't a threat. I don't need to rebuke it in the name of Jesus or cast it out, right? It was actually watching me or calling out to me somehow. And I envisioned it as a dragon, right? And the dragon is when most of the, when I looked it up, it was like snakes that then were giving wings, right? So then on November 13th, to be specifically, that I I saw the eye like this to the side, the head, which was black with scales, right? Scales of what that you would find like on a cobra snake or on a dragon's head. And it did this to me. It, it and I, we bumped foreheads. We touched foreheads together. And I felt this rush of just like peace. It was beautiful. And the only way I could describe it, so the vision came to me in a dream. This happened to when I woke up, is I thought of two scenes. One in Game of Thrones when Khaleesi connected to her dragons, and then the other was in Moana when Nefiti, I think, Tahiti, when she went to Tahiti and her forehead and Tahiti's forehead touched. It was that tender, beautiful moment. It was, I would dare say, if I was meeting mine, accepting my subconscious, my shadow self, we became one, we aligned. I no longer was fearful of it or repressed. But then, when listening to Dr. Jerica yesterday in her live and all she did was Kemetic yoga. But when she mentioned the Wajet, something inside me leaped, and I began to, look it up, and then that's what I saw. I saw it, when I think of it now, was that image, right? So for you, it may be, you're not having a specific vision with Wajet, the goddess Wajet, so to speak. But again, there's something about the subconscious, the shadow self. There's something about integration. There's something about this trinity, right? This collaboration between all three, right? Usually in the Three of Cups, we see three women celebrating and gathering together. But there's something about it not being three external women necessarily, but the three levels within you, right? Your Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, your Mother, Maid, and Crone, your Holy Trinity, the Holy Trinity that lives within you. Okay, Spirit is reminding me that in the previous message I was talking about the Six of Swords, where usually in the Rider-Waite-Smith we see the Six of Swords, we see the masculine rowing the boat with the feminine sitting with a child. And the vision that I got, or the message that came out in that reading, was that all three of them were one, right? And now I'm hearing, and the two shall become one. And oh my God, look at this, y'all. I'm not making it up. So didn't I say this is number 22? And this is these two individuals touching foreheads together under this full moon. And then look at the wings again, a fire here. I'm over it. No, I'm done. Spirit is just thebomb.com. I'm not making it up. You seen, I'm told this is exactly what's coming out. And once again, I don't know if you can see that. That looks like that may be two people over here and one person over here. Is that two or one? I don't know. It can look at, in one way it looks like two, and another way it looks like one. I don't know, but I see them here, I see them here, and then this may be somebody here on the ground and prostrated, right? But there's this entrance, right? This portal, and we did just have the 1212 portal, and you see how it's lit up, right? And it's connected, or it happens when you connect with self. When this union, right? The number 2 is this union that, and then this is the muse of inspiration, right? You're inspired, right? We're talking about going into a new level, right? Entering this new domain. I just heard, right? And now I'm seeing these lit up roads. You know how when you are on the conveyor belt, they're saying, on those at the airport, they're like fast tracking you to, yeah, you're inspired, right? You're coming out of this exile into this new world. You're sharing this trinity within you, is going to exude out of you, and it's not only causing it to be a muse of inspiration instantaneously for yourself, but it will be for others. I'm hearing. Do you want more cards, Spirit? At the bottom of the deck, Ace of Emotions. And look, she's submerged in the water. coming up out there. Yeah, there's something about, I don't know, I just heard a Piscean frequency. Oh, and we are just exiting the Pisces, right? I just did a reading where I said that the astrologer indicated that we're literally that day at the 29th degree of Pisces, right? Leaving that as we're entering in 2026 into the realm, into the sign of Aries, right? So there's this preparation. And they're taking me back to serenity out of exile, right? These last 11 years, maybe, I don't know, for some to 14. I mean, you've been in this, right, where we've been in this sea of emotions, exploring, question. I mean, shit, the pandemic happened, right? Who didn't, right? So it was like, and the pandemic happened, and I think we went into this Pisces in 2011. The pandemic happened, what, 2020? Almost like 9 years later, and it's like it was almost like I'm hearing, and I'm not being ignorant and trying to say that the pandemic happened, because that's some fuck shit. No, I'm just responding now in retrospect that the fact that we did go through it, and during that time, many of us, because we were shut in, were forced to go within to this emotional realm aspects of ourselves, right? I'm not saying that that's the reason why the pandemic happened. I would never say something ignorant like that. However, one of the results of the pandemic for many, and many have attested to this, was because they were shut in, they were forced to deal with so many emotions that they had previously repressed, or, numb, discard, or just chose not to deal with, right? People were forced in-house together. So there's something about that. Yeah, and this coming out of it, right? And I love the way, and again, I'm seeing those lights again. We seen it in the eyebrow of that card. We see it all around this card. We see it on the portal, this conveyor belt that's leading you to this. There's something about you being lit up, and you're coming up out with everything you need, right? This state of what felt like exile. And I'm hearing for some of you like sheer punishment. For some of you, you were sitting there asking spirit, what is this? Why am I going through this? Why am I feeling this way? When is this gonna end, right? Yeah, you're coming up. And now I'm hearing Diana Ross. I'm coming up. I want the world to know, right? Ramona the brave. You're going to be brave. And what does it say here? There is nothing Ramona can't face. There is nothing now you won't be able to face. And what I'm hearing is because you went deep within yourself. And when you go within yourself and you confront your inner monsters, right, within you, then what else outside of you then is going to be able to like conquer that, or your confirmation make you fear? You faced yourself, right? The biggest yeah, I'm hearing the biggest dragon you had to slay was the one within yourself, and then you found out you didn't have to slay it. You needed to befriend it. You needed to accept it. You need to become one with it, right? There was a sense of collaboration that needed to, and there's a sense of you accepting your divinity, your trinity, right? I'm hearing now Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus, or Yeshua, however you want to reference him. He said the Father and I are one, right? And the High Priestess and the Lovers. Again, if we were to line them up on each card, yo, I cannot. Look at this. Before I close out, the Ace of Emotions falls on the new world, a new beginning, newness, 1, 21, 1. The High Priestess on this depth of like going into the emotions, dancing with the sea into the emotions. And then the 22, the Union, 2, the Union, and then 2 of Emotions, the Union. Just the 2 of Cups. I can't make this shit up. And if we look at it like that, right? This new beginning that is being, oh, I just got chills everywhere, that is that you're coming out of, right, that you're arising with, right? So it's not like Phoenix, right, where it's out of ashes or fire. It's literally out of the depths of the sea, the depths of your subconsciousness. You're coming out as this high priestess. There's some shit you done learn now, some stuff that you know, and I'm hearing that that you know that can't nobody trick you out of, nobody can convince you any other, you know what I'm saying? You're coming out with um, some wisdom, some ancient wisdom, but also this intense trust now in your intuition, right? Yeah, I'm hearing. Yeah, you can't come down my street with the shit you used to be able to come down my. It don't work like that no more. That fear doesn't work like that anymore. You know what I mean? Um, and yeah, and it's because, I'm hearing the greatest love of all, the love for self, right? Your masculine and your feminine becoming one. And now I'm hearing, and the two shall become one, right? And now I'm hearing, if you learn to swim with one another in the depths, then sky's the limit, right? Sky's the effing limit, I'm hearing. And to close us out, I'm just going to pull some. These are from the Wishcraft. They're little, the magic starts here. They're little oracle affirmations. What do they call themselves? Probably like everyone needs a little witchcraft and magic in their lives, especially kids. Something about yeah. Okay. So the first one to come out is, my wishes matter. My wishes matter. Okay. It says, oh, windy kite magic. Windy, like the wind, kite, like flying in the sky magic. My wishes matter, right? And then that's why we have this little child. And it did say something about for kids here, right? So there's something about, when you went into the depths, I'm hearing you saved yourself, right? We talked about slaying the dragon, right? Oh, and now I'm seeing that movie that was not too long ago on Netflix, where the young lady was married into the family of the kingdom of this boy, and come to find out that they were just using her as a body to sacrifice her to the dragon. But she befriends the dragon. She finds out that the dragon itself has been being used again. So, this whole story of you needing the prince needing to come and slay the dragon to rescue the princess. No, you slayed your own dragon, but you found out it wasn't slaying it. It was befriending it. It was understanding it. It was in the two shall become one, right? Because it's within you, right? And again, they telling me to remind you how I talked about the Six of Swords, where on that you see the masculine, the feminine, and the child, the three, right? This trinity, this holy trinity that is you, your inner child, your masculine aspects and your feminine aspects, right? And you did that. You went in and you did that. You went into your own, dragon layer, if that's what you want to call it, right? And you did that. I keep hearing you did that, right? And you discovered that your wishes do matter, right? There was something as prior to that, you were probably living on everybody else's time, what their wishes, right? And we talked about that when we read about the fear card. It talked about people pleasing or specifically isolating, going to both extremes, right? And we were reminded of the hadith by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which said the middle path is the best path, right? And we talked about Kemetic yoga and Kemetic knowledge and ancient Kemet, and something about aligning, right, and balancing once again. Yeah. And Wajet, right, the snake, the cobra, the dragon, right, protection. Right, I said to you that I saw the eye and that be at first as a threat, but then I learned it. Now I'm seeing the scene from How to Train a Dragon, where he and the little dragon, the little boy and the dragon go, it's the beautiful black, again, there's something about the brilliance, the luminescence of deep, deep, dark blackness, beautiful blackness. Now I'm hearing black beauty, right? That beautiful blackness that you see in the sky when the stars twinkle, right? Or of a crow or a raven when you get like that you find, remember those indigo, like purple and luminescent colors in it. It's something, baby, black is beautiful. Love you. You hear me? That's what I just heard. There's something about that, and you became one with it. You're touching foreheads with it, right? There's this intimacy, this love, this respect, this loyalty, this admiration. They're taking me back to the reading I did again, where I had made the connection. I had heard enmeshment, but when I looked it up, it always seemed to be negative. But there was something, no, when I found the positive, and it's positive, it's something about being the fidelity, the loyalty, the true connection that happens when you truly are enmeshed with self. Not with someone outside of yourself, not with an entity, not with a family system, not with anything, with yourself. Right? The Father and I are one. The Mother and I are one. I am a good leader. That's the next one that just came out. And it says there, the crown, right? Baby, wear your crown. Fix your crown. Understand, yes, you wear the crown. Yes, your wishes matter. And you are a good leader, right? And look how beautiful this crown is. Oh. And it fell in the middle row. Look at this. Come on. Stop playing with me. The alignment is vicious. And then it's showing me that this was the lotus. The lotus what? Comes up out of the water and shows itself what? From the deep, dark, murky waters. Talk about from the mud for real. I just heard, fuck out of here. People want to talk about that, yeah, from the mud for real, right? The lotus comes from the mud for real, right? It grows in that darkness, and then it sprouts out to be this beautiful lotus. That's you, boo. That's you, yeah, you. Yo, the alignment is crazy. And then the last one is paper aeroplane. I am free to make my wishes come true. Like, yo. So not only are you being see, that's what you found out in exile, that your wishes matter. And now in the alchemy of poison, which is transformational lessons, reclaiming personal choice, radical forgiveness, you learn that I can make my wishes come true. You done slave, right? And I keep saying slave, and my nose itching out. It's not slave. You didn't slave. You became one. You did it. Oh, wait. And look at the paper airplane. Doesn't it align with the cosmic? Then I say the three states. Like, stop saying, look, the underworld, the water world, the earthly realm, where crowns, right, where we actually rule and lead. And then look, the cosmic. I'm telling you, you're ruling on all three realms. You're understanding that you are operating in all three realms simultaneously. You're understanding that you're more of this, you're more than what you were taught to be, that you have understood that you are as a living being, right? You know what I'm saying? You're like a fish, you could breathe in water with gills, you know what I'm saying? On earth, you could walk on land, and then you could fly to the moon. There's something, and that you are doing that. You have the capability of that. They kept that from you, I'm hearing. But you are realizing it now, or have realized it. That's it, beloved. I'm going back to Ramona the Brave again, right? Again, there's something about, I want to say thank you to the inner child within, right? That stayed resilient, that refused to give up, right? That refused to be silent, right? That refused to go on unheard, unloved, unseen, right? That was brave enough to keep pulling on those heartstrings, keep rattling the cage to say, I'm here, don't forget about me. Right? That led you on this conquest, right? To save yourself, I'm hearing. Ashe, amen, and amen. That is beautiful. And on that note, beloved, this is the ending to this message. Yes, this is it. This is how they want to close out. And as always, I am going to suggest that you be you, baby, on purpose. There is no one else in this galaxy, on this planet, or in the underworld that is you. You are unique. You are sacred consciousness. And this world is a better place with you, right? Because of you and what you were here to bring, placed here to bring and to contribute. Don't you ever forget it, I heard. Man, you know, the attitude. And until next time, beloved, I love you.